Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm Bob Birch, Web Technology Specialist with NDSU Ag Communication and a member of the NDSU Extension Innovation Team. And I am your host once again for this Tech Coffee Break. This is the last time you'll have to hear from me for a while as host anyway. I did get roped into doing back-to-back Tech Coffee Breaks, but somebody new next month and for the months following, it'll be a while before my turn rolls around again, hopefully, knock on wood, cross your fingers. The message I sent out, I did mention talking about some electronic evaluation tools, just as an idea of what to talk about. But as in every Tech Coffee Break, you guys set the agenda, and so if you have things you want to share about how you or someone you know might want to use technology and would like to get some help from the group on solving a particular problem or reaching a particular audience. Or if you're having a particular dilemma, you want to see if people are having the same problems, we can talk about that. And also if you have sort of a success story or a shout out for a colleague who's working in a different way, all of that stuff is on the table, so feel free to jump in and talk about any of that stuff or ask any kinds of questions with the folks who are on here today. I did ask Brenda Verton specifically to be on today to talk a little bit about Qualtrics. If you guys aren't familiar with what Qualtrics is, it's an online survey tool that was purchased by the Group Decision Center as part of NDSU's distance learning department, and licensed so that it can be used by anyone at NDSU, so we all have access to it. And it's become our replacement for SurveyMonkey, which some of us and some people might still be paying a fee to use. This is a pretty robust tool, but I asked Brenda to be on because she's worked with it quite a bit. She did a training on it back in December or November. Brenda, I can't quite remember, but so she's here as a resource, and I thought I'd ask Brenda to talk a little bit about how she's used Qualtrics and then kind of see what questions you guys have about Qualtrics or how you'd like to go about learning more. So Brenda, thanks for joining us.
Sure. I guess I'll start my video here. I have worked with about a dozen now surveys, and most of them have been evaluations, personnel evaluations or program evaluations. I haven't done any registrations with it yet, but I know Cami Bauman is on from Morton, and she has also used it for that. So if you have any questions about that, maybe she can help you. What I have done is I've done some training with some department chairs and some support staff over the last few months. It's a pretty easy program to learn if you go into the Qualtrics system, which is housed in the Group Decisions Center webpage. You can kind of navigate your way through there and find it. Once you get logged in, it's pretty simple. You just go to the tutorials, and they're very good. They can teach you pretty much anything real time. You can have one screen set up with the video going, and then you can have your own Qualtrics to start up a survey and just go through it. So it's pretty easy. But I'm here to answer any questions you might have if you've started and you might have something that you're stuck on.
Thanks, Brenda. If you have questions, go ahead and you can use your microphone or you can type them into the chat. If you don't have the conversation open in Skype for Business, you can open it by clicking the little speech bubble in the lower left-hand corner. That will open up the conversation, the chat area for you. So feel free to type in there or open your microphone now and ask questions. I'll give a second to see if anybody wants to talk a little bit about Qualtrics or ask about Qualtrics.
Not really a question.
Cami, I think we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. So you may want to check your mic or maybe move it closer to your mouth if you can. So, Cami, I'm not sure if you're trying to talk right now. Becky's asked what kind of registrations you've used it for, and I see you're typing in the chat. So Cami's going to try and answer that in the chat. And if you guys aren't watching the chat, and for the sake of the recording, I'm going to read some of this off here that Joe Zalesnik says he's used it for program assessment, and he found it straightforward and useful. Todd Weinman says he's found it to be fairly easy to use or not. I don't know if that means it hasn't been fairly easy to use sometimes, or if it's fairly easy to not use it, which is true. It is fairly easy to not use it. And Cammie's mentioned that Carrie and she have been using Qualtrics in Morton County for about a year and a half, and I see she's typing right now, and looks like for pesticide registration, Parent Resource Center parenting classes, and archery tournaments. So that it would definitely work, especially if it's not tied to a fee. If you are collecting, or at least an online fee, you can't collect a credit card information or anything like that. If you are doing that, you have to use the NDSU marketplace system. And last I heard, and maybe Becky might want to chime in on this, I know about a year ago or so there was some discussion because NDSU does not want us using one tool for registration, let's say like Qualtrics, and then sending somebody a link to put in their credit card information, like on Marketplace, because they see it as a security concern. Am I saying that right, Becky? Or
that's exactly right, and I haven't heard anything differently yet.
Okay, and so Cammie's mentioning that they're not taking online payments, so this is fine the way they're doing it, as far as I can tell anyway. That at the end of the registration, then here's how much you need to pay, and then you're just going to have to pay by mail or in person or something like that. So note by that. Has anyone else used Qualtrics?
This is Lori. I've used it since fall of 2014, both in-house for different like candidate evaluations, also evaluations of conferences and things, both regional and national, and feedback, and just found it extremely useful and easy to use. The videos are great, the tutorials. So.
Thanks, Lori. I see Esther's typing right now. If you guys have other questions or want to share your experiences, please chime in, use your microphone or the chat pod. We'll keep the conversation going. So Esther's saying she's uses it for Master Gardener Core course evaluations. Summary statistics are clear, and that is kind of a nice part of it. I think it's pretty robust. I haven't worked with it a lot, but on the at the viewing results end and those kinds of things, it's very robust for that. And also the ability to, I know we've used it for Nourishing Boomers and Beyond a little bit, and the ability to import a list of emails. So if you have a list of emails already and you're trying to send something to specific people, being able to import that and kind of keep track of sending reminders only to those people who have not filled it out. Some of those things are helpful. Joe is asking when Brenda's going to hold another training session. He thought the training session last fall was great, so I'm not gonna commit Brenda, but she might have a response to that.
That's the one that's going to be coming up, Bob, that you promoted. The extension, just to take a little pressure off you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Lori. I was going to mention that Steve Judd from the University of New Hampshire Extension, who's a colleague of mine in network literacy community of practice, and I think he's working with Bridget Scott at Virginia Tech Extension, and Bridget's an evaluation specialist. So I think they're working together on what they're calling what are they calling a learning community, and they did this one time before, so it's taking place on Google Plus, which makes the access a little bit rough for us because you can't use your NDSU Google account to use Google Plus, but if you have your own personal Google account or you want to sign up for one, they're doing it in a Google Plus community. So they will have some training materials there, some reference materials and those kinds of things, but it's really about learning from each other. and posting your experiences and asking questions, and sort of like this call is supposed to be about learning from each other. And so, yeah, if you want to sign up for that, I think you still can do that. I don't think it's started quite yet. And I think Sonia has put the link in the chat box there. And I will make sure to include that link for those of you who are watching the recording of this on the NDSU Extension Innovation site, where you'll find the recording. We'll put that in the blog post. We'll put that link as well. I do want to mention another thing from the chat, that Mary Berg has said she's using it for program evaluations. Results can be viewed several ways, which makes it ideal for sharing and going through data. So it looks like it's been pretty successful from everybody that we've heard from so far. Anybody have particular questions? See if anybody in the group's done. You're trying to do something specific, a certain kind of survey question, a certain way of distributing the survey, looking at the data. Not hearing anybody. And again, if you want to chime in, please open up your mic or use the conversation in the chat pod. And to open that, you just hit the little speech bubble down there in the lower left. What about other ways of evaluating? So Sonia and I have done a little bit of training at conferences and things on Google Forms, which is a much I shouldn't say, I don't want to call it simpler, because I'm not going to say that it's easier to use than Qualtrics. It's just is not as robust. It's really just about getting an online form and having that online form populate a spreadsheet. And so we've talked about some of those. Has anybody used Google Forms for evaluation or for registration or anything else?
This is Lori. I did use Google Forms for a regional registration, and Bob, you helped me out a lot with that and getting that to link to the NDSU Marketplace for the payment piece. So
yeah, and that was back when
that
was back when we didn't know we weren't supposed to do that, or they hadn't said
we kind of got our hands slapped, but it worked well.
So that's another option. Not trying to steer you any one way or the other, and with our NDSU Google accounts, that is another place. And I sort of tend to go there just because I use Google Forms first, and so you kind of it's where you're comfortable. Partly too, but if you're trying to do something really short too, sometimes it's you can knock that off pretty quickly. But then there's also something to be said about having all your data in one place too. So if you do everything in Qualtrics, you've got everything in there. Cammie's mentioning that Qualtrics is very user-friendly in the chat. Sonia mentioned that Amy, is that Amy Ticky, Sonia, I assume, and Sonia worked on a Google Form registration for parent registration, or for Parent Resource Center, and she's included the link to that, and so I'll put that on the post as well for the recording. Esther's mentioning Google Forms for event registration, that they've used that, and boy, the chat is filling up fast, so I'll try and keep up and this is for the sake of the recording. I know everybody who's on here live, you can read the chat for yourself, but using Google Forms for event registration, Esther is, so it's great when people need to specify dinner choices or their choice of seminars. And Sonia posted a registration form that Andy Robinson just did this morning. Stacy Wang is mentioning Google Forms. However, has anyone discovered an option where users can upload documents in addition to their responses? And I'm not aware of that for Google Forms. Or for Qualtrics, for that matter. Brenda, have you run across that? I don't recall seeing that. Or anyone? Have you run across the option for a user who's filling out a survey to upload something?
I've never done that. I know at the end you can send them to a different URL in order if there's more information they need, but that's about as far as I've gotten with it.
Okay. And my only experience with that, and yeah, I guess I can't say that this is on the down low because it's going to be out there for the recording, but for faculty and staff awards, we use JotForm, which again is another online survey creator, but the reason that we did that was this robust ability to allow people to upload stuff. So for faculty and staff awards, people upload CVs and letters of recommendation and all this kind of stuff. So we needed some way to manage that, and we were having trouble at that time when I first started working with that group. We were having trouble finding a tool for that, so we ended up using JotForm. But we should check into that for Qualtrics. So Brenda's saying in the chat that she's been asked to teach a Qualtrics beginner and advanced class at Support Staff Conference, and that's in the beginning of April in Bismarck. Carol Hadlick, Grand Forks County's used Google Forms for 4-H event registration. I think Stacy is responding to Becky's question about giving us an example of why you need to upload. And Ryan, you're asking like Google Drive. Is that in reference to Google Forms or to the uploading question? Uploading. In terms of JotForm, it works a couple of ways. You can just have the files uploaded to your JotForm account and access them there. For faculty and staff awards, JotForm has a plugin that will work with Google Drive, so we actually use that, and that way those documents go into a Google Drive folder that we can then share. And Janelle Kwam will tell you it sounds really great on the surface, but the way it's worked, it's been good, but it's been a little bit more work than we expected because multiple versions of each document end up getting uploaded every time somebody updates the nomination. So Janelle has done a lot of cleanup in those folders before they're shared then with the selection committee, the people who select the awards. Stacy is mentioning that she's on the board of the Nutrition Council of North Dakota, and they run scholarship and other various awards requiring a recommendation letter. So similar to what we do with faculty and staff awards, when you have that need to have users attach a pre-existing document. Same way that we're using it.
Hi, Bob. This is Sonia.
Hey, Sonia.
Hi. I just looked over in Qualtrics. I attached a screenshot. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I looked at the question types in Qualtrics, which they have a lot more you can choose from, but there appears to be a file upload option. I personally haven't used it, but I do think about a situation. Shannon from Plant Sciences had contacted me a year or two ago when they were trying to figure out the new name of the Master Gardeners newsletter, and they wanted people to have the ability to submit, I'm not sure if it was artwork or like a logo, and I'm not sure what she ended up doing it, but I do recall at the time at least Google Forms did not have that option. So that's one thing when I try and think about there are a lot of differences between Google Forms and Qualtrics, but Qualtrics, you get so many more question option types if that is important to your form.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Sonia. That's great. I'm glad we found that. So that's definitely something that if you guys have the need, or Stacy, if you want to give that a try, it'd be great if you could let us know sort of how that worked and if it did work out for you if you end up using Qualtrics. Thanks, Stacy. Anything else about electronic evaluation? When I talk about electronic evaluation I fail to call it the right thing all the time. I apologize in advance, but maybe Jody or Lori or somebody can help me with what we actually call that. But we sort of have this second round of orientation where extension folks come back, about a year after. And I teach a session in there about electronic evaluation. And the other things that I mention in addition to Qualtrics and Google Forms are these sort of response device tools that you can use with mobile web, so things like poll anywhere, or excuse me, poll everywhere, and Mentimeter. And so what they allow you to do is to create questions. And so if any of you have used like the Turning Point audience response system, the actual clickers, it's the same kind of idea, except people respond using their mobile device or on a website or something like that. Has anybody got experience with those or want to share questions? Yeah. Plickers is another one. Thank you, Stacy. I always forget that one. In fact, I think I was talking with our innovation team. I was like, somebody mentioned another one of those, and I couldn't remember what it was, and that was the one I was thinking of. So thank you, Stacy. Questions or experiences with that kind of I don't know if we'd call it like super robust evaluation, but you could do pre and post kinds of things with those kinds of tools. Oh yeah, so that's right. So Stacy did talk about Plickers in her fall conference presentation, and that's out on SlideShare. So you could probably just search for Stacy's name on slideshare.net, or use the conference hashtag, which I'm not going to remember, but we had a conference hashtag. You can probably find that on the conference's website, www.ag.ndsu.edu/conferences, and then look at the Fall Conference 2015, and that hashtag I think is on that website somewhere. Okay, thank you, Becky. She's got it right there, so you can find Stacy's slides there, and maybe run across lots of other things from Fall Conference that maybe you didn't get to attend or forgot about attending. Okay. So it's gotten pretty quiet regarding electronic evaluation tools. How about other stuff, other questions? What kinds of things have you been working on or struggling with in the last month or so, maybe since our last tech coffee break, or if you haven't been here for a couple of months in that time? Crickets. So Sonia and I have a question. If nobody wants to chime in on these other topics or come up with one of their own, we are looking for feedback about really how sustainably we support Ag CMS training and education. So we do some Ag CMS training at every conference. So we'll be at support staff conference. We'll have 2 sessions. We had 2 sessions at fall conference. We kind of continue to do that. And we do a lot of one-on-one work. And thus far, that seems to have been okay. At least it hasn't caused an uproar from you guys. But on our last tech coffee break, a few people brought up, I'd like to know more about Ag CMS. And so we started talking about that, and we'd be interested in sort of feedback from you guys in terms of, do you feel supported in terms of training on Ag CMS? We have a how-to guide out there. Is that just doing the job in terms of a job aid? So when you have a question, you go there, or you pick up the phone and call me and Sonia, and maybe that's just fine and everything's hunky-dory? Or do we need something, more robust, or some kind of learning community around it, users group, whatever you want to call it? Thoughts? Sorry to take over the tech coffee break for our research, but so Mary's saying she likes the how-to guide, and Joe just calls and emails when he's got a question. That's worked good. So Stacy's saying users group when a new update comes out. So we did have an update. Oh, I don't know. It's probably a little bit more than a year ago that caused some changes, and so I know that that might have caused some frustration with folks. So that's a good idea. Thanks, Stacy. And Becky's posted a link to the how-to guide too, and we'll make sure that gets into the notes for today's tech coffee break. So Dina's saying that she likes the monthly webinar idea that we're trying, and that's something that we're doing in AgCom. So it's not Ag CMS specific. And we did one on Skype for Business in January, and this month it is going to be a discussion about cloud storage, so OneDrive, Google Drive, and maybe touch on some SharePoint stuff, time permitting as well. And so that is third Wednesday, Becky, at 3 p.m., I think. You're muted if you're answering. Somebody in AgCom confirm that for me.
No, I was looking at the calendar because I couldn't remember. Yes, third Wednesday at 3, so the 17th.
Yep. So we'll have that on the 17th. Is there a list of topics posted somewhere for each month? So Becky puts it out in Let's Communicate. And to be honest, I don't know if we have a topic for March yet. So if you guys have suggestions for topics, I'm sure we'd be happy to hear them. Don't everybody talk at once. I can't control this group. So maybe it's the sunny skies outside or the warm weather or something that we're thinking of. But conversation, and it's Monday. Conversation is lulling a little bit, so I want to throw it out there again. I mean, it would be really great in these if we could get one of these shout outs in every once in a while. I think there's some mini shout outs happening there, although they're you know, when Sonia is mentioning and other people are mentioning, like Cami just talking about, hey, we're using Qualtrics for registration forms. Those are the kinds of things that I think you know, as NDSU Extension Innovation Team, we'd love to hear in here, because I think those success stories are important. A lot of times we spend a lot of time asking questions or complaining about a particular situation. So Sonia's got a shout out for some Instagram accounts in the chat there for Burleigh County and Williston REC. That's exactly what we're looking for. So I hope that if you have any of those now, you know, jump in, please do, in the chat, or open your microphone, or next time you're coming to a Tech Coffee Break, maybe think about that a little bit as well. As far as I know, those are our only NDSU agriculture related Instagram accounts. Does anybody know about any others besides Burleigh Extension and Williston REC? Ryan's saying Dickinson REC. Okay, so he'll put a link out there for us. We'll get these in here. Okay. So that's great. New stuff that's happening. I think people being innovative, trying some stuff, seeing how it works, and hopefully letting the rest of us learn a little bit about, learn from them a little bit. So appreciate that Burleigh County and Williston REC, and it looks like Dickinson REC are working on those as well. Oh, so Cammie's got an open invitation there. If you're working on surveys or registrations and you need some help, you can call or email her. She says we, so I don't know if that's for Cammie and Carrie specifically, or includes Brenda as well. But Okay, so you can call Cammie and Carrie. I'm sure Brenda won't hang up on you, but she's never hung up on me, and she's probably had reason to before, so that's... Becky's mentioning Kelly's working on infographics for Extension social media. How's your headset working today, Kelly? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Is this better than last time?
I can hear you this time,
Yay.
so that's better.
Okay. Yes, we are working on a series of infographics. We've identified some things throughout the next couple of months based on some gathered information from all these different places, USDA, Ag in America. So you might have seen last month that we did, it was January's National Slow Cooker Month. So you might have seen our infographic about slow cookers and some quick tips for that. And then the information then goes back to one of our publications on tips for using a slow cooker. So here in February, you're going to be seeing, February is American Heart Month. So you'll be seeing an infographic coming out about heart health that will be linking back to some Nourishing Boomers information, and also some other heart health publications. And then we're also, February is also National Potato Lovers Month. So we're going to be featuring an infographic that celebrates North Dakota potato production. Say that 3 times fast. So we would appreciate those of you out in the counties, if you would like to share those or like those, we would really appreciate it. Feel free to take that information and run with it however you would like to. So that's what we're working on here for February. We'll have other infographics rolling out throughout the year celebrating different topics in family, consumer science, agriculture, community vitality, and 4-H in the coming months.
So those will be on the NDSU Extension Service Facebook page?
Yes, those will be on the Extension Service Facebook page, and like I said, they will all, within the text, goes along with that infographic. They'll provide a link back to, it might be a publication, it might be, one of the department's websites, wherever someone can go to find more information about that infographic is where we'll be linking back to.
So folks, if you wanted to share that on your county extension Facebook page or something like that, you could probably just share, through Facebook from there. Is there any, would there be any interest, or is there any reason that you might want access to the actual file? I guess I'm asking the group, not you, Kelly, specifically.
Sure.
So some folks are typing in the chat, that's why I'm allowing the silence to go on. Although I've been trained, by the way, to not have too much dead air, but yeah, so it's a little bit hard to hear, Kelly, but I'll try and summarize the best I can. So AgCom is working on some infographics. They've done some specific ones. They did a slow cooker one this past month, I guess, and now they're working on a couple more, one for heart health and one for potato production in February, which goes along, with Heart Health Month and Potato Lovers Month, or those kinds of things. So, and they'll be posted on the Extension Service Facebook page, so you can see them there. And so Stacy's mentioning, would these be put on the website so they could be put on Pinterest? And they should probably, if they're going to be put on Pinterest, Stacy, they should probably be put on the web page, that they should lead to, I guess. Unless, Kelly, are we going to post them? And maybe you want to respond in chat since people are having trouble hearing you. But are we going to post them like on the NDSU Agriculture page or on the NDSU Extension Service page? In those story sections? So Kelly's typing. There we go. That's something we hadn't thought of. Definitely a possibility. That might be well, unless other folks have other ideas, but that might be a way to get them on the web somewhere where they could be used on Pinterest. They'd lead to the little short blurb on the extension or agriculture page, but then the link to the publication or the website, with more information would be there as well. So that might make sense.
I was just wondering if it would be possible to consider having one of those Wednesday webinars, teach county staff how to make their own infographics so we could do county specific things.
That's a great idea, Dina. Somebody's writing that down, right? That's a Kelly. Yes, great. So you see Kelly's commitment to that, so we'll get it scheduled. Okay. All right. Other thoughts, shout outs, questions? I'm going to kind of do a last call here. I think it's been a good conversation. And I'm super happy to see all the commitment in the chat about ask me a question kind of thing. So this is part of what we hoped would happen with these meetings, is to encourage folks to kind of get together, form a community, and start learning from each other so that we can learn more and be more flexible in our learning. So it's great. Last call. So Cammie's saying she'd like to learn some infographic stuff. You're welcome, Todd. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll be on for a while if you guys want to continue the conversation in a smaller group, but I think we'll kind of wrap things up. I'm sure people want to get out in the sunshine a little bit, or finish up everything that you've got left to do on a Monday. So, all right, thanks everybody. Hope you join us for the next Tech Coffee Break, first Monday of the month. I don't know what date that will be, but you can look at your calendar. March 7th. Thanks, Becky. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody.